Tonight, several developing stories as we come on the air. Officials extend the flood watch to millions in South Florida as families struggle to pick up the pieces. Record heat builds across the country and moves east, millions already feeling the impact. And Princess Catherine returns to the spotlight in royal fashion. First, more than 4 million people still under a flood watch from Miami to Fort Lauderdale. Local authorities pumping trillions of gallons of water out of neighborhoods. More than 200 rescues reported. And across the country, another threat. As the heat dome rapidly spreads from the southwest, Phoenix hasn't had a day below 100 degrees since late May. Records about to fall from coast to coast, with the Northeast bracing for its first taste of brutal heat. Our weather team tracking it all. Princess Catherine returns to the world stage, her first public appearance since revealing her cancer diagnosis, joining King Charles and other senior members of the royal family for the King's official birthday parade as he resumes some public duties amid his own cancer battle. What we're learning about what's next for the royals. The terrifying ride, dozens of people trapped upside down at an amusement park in Oregon. How first responders were able to get them to safety after nearly 30 minutes. Overseas in Gaza, the deadliest day for the IDF in months. At least 8 soldiers killed, according to the IDF. The new video showing the dramatic rescue of one of the hostages as tens of thousands take to the streets to protest against the government. The largest demonstration since October 7th. Tom Sufi Burridge standing by in Tel Aviv. Former President Trump in Michigan hoping to turn the state red, the key battleground that went blue in 2020. As President Biden courts big donors in Hollywood. Mary Alice Parks on the campaign trail. Here in New York, the urgent manhunt for a suspect in what police describe as the brutal assault of a 13-year-old girl. Teams of officers scouring a 240-acre park. And America Strong tonight, the amazing foster mom and the dozens of lives she's changed over her 40-plus years on the job.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening. It's great to have you with us on this Saturday. I'm Whit Johnson. We begin tonight with the relentless rain devastating South Florida. Millions still under a flood watch and the brutal heat wave on the move, starting in the southwest, but soon to sweep across much of the country. Florida's governor declaring a state of emergency, crews using pumps to drain flooded neighborhoods. More than 2 feet of rain fell in some areas, trapping drivers and making roads impassable. And the excessive heat warnings in parts of the southwest, that blistering heat wave now threatening the Midwest and the Northeast. And it could lead to a record-breaking stretch of heat for dozens of cities. We'll have the timing and the forecast in just a moment. But first, ABC's Faith Abube leads us off from Florida again tonight.
Tonight, more than 4 million people still under flood watch in South Florida. The area only now emerging from the nightmare of days of relentless rains. More than 200 rescues from floodwaters this week, according to local reports. Nickerson Dorsonville says this was the worst flooding he's seen in his North Miami community in 14 years.
And this was just rain. This wasn't the hurricane, and rain caused all this trouble.
Over 2 feet of rain falling just this week. Storm drains overwhelmed the water with little to no place to drain off.
And crews have been out across the city in vehicles just like this one with the bypass pump, draining water out of flooded neighborhoods through these catch basins and redirecting them elsewhere where they can flow into the main waterways.
This Florida landlord says his home was inundated during the storms.
We were taking water from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis saying over 12 trillion gallons of water had already been pumped away, pointing to extensive land development in the region contributing to the flooding there.
If you compare 50 to 100 years ago to now, as you say, there's just a lot more that's been developed. So there's a lot more effects that this type of an event can have, given how Florida has grown.
And the rain has let up here. Just hours ago, this road was completely flooded all the way down. The water has significantly receded. Residents here are looking forward to that flood watch expiring tonight. And which meteorologists say this was a 25-year event, meaning only a 4% chance of a storm like this in any given year. Whit.
Truly has been relentless. Faith Abube, thank you. Let's get right to ABC meteorologist Samara Theodore. And Samara, as the rain moves out, the dangerous heat is moving in across the country.
That's correct, Whit. Now, we know in the Southwest they've been roasting now for a couple of weeks down there. Phoenix, Tucson set to hit triple digits once again on Sunday, even places like El Paso. As we take a look, this heat starts to expand towards the east. So 95 degrees in Atlanta Sunday afternoon, finishing your weekend farther north in the low to mid 90s. This heat dome then moves into the northeast. So places like Boston will hit 92 degrees on Tuesday. Meanwhile, Chicago pretty close to 100 by Monday afternoon, even in New York City, ending off the week in the mid 90s. As a result of this heat, many National Weather Service offices stretching from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, down to Charleston, West Virginia, have issued an excessive heat watch. Now, Monday through Friday, every single day next week, Pittsburgh could break a daily record high, with these temperatures really shooting in the upper 90s to around 100 degrees. Whit?
We know you'll be tracking it all tomorrow on GMA. Samara, thank you so much. To England now, and the Royal Birthday Bash featuring the return of Princess Kate. Making her first public appearance in months since her cancer diagnosis, the princess joining other senior royals for King Charles' official birthday parade, a family display of unity as the king also battles cancer. ABC's Lama Hassan reporting from Buckingham Palace.
A long-awaited royal return. The Princess of Wales making her first public appearance since revealing her stunning cancer diagnosis in March. Catherine joining in on all the military pomp and pageantry and trooping the colour. The King's official birthday parade, supporting her father-in-law, King Charles, who is also undergoing treatment for an unspecified cancer. Wearing a white dress and hat, Catherine riding in an enclosed coach with her 3 children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis. Watching the marching band below, capping the day off on Buckingham Palace's balcony, the Royal Air Force flying past. A family affair and show of unity, one day after the princess released this photo and wrote an honest and heartfelt statement about her health, the good days and bad days, the ups and downs of chemotherapy, saying she is not out of the woods yet. Her treatment is still ongoing.
She's very much paving the way for her attending public events this summer. She's put it out there very openly that that's what she hopes to do. However, it all has to be taken alongside the idea that she can only do what she feels well enough to do, and that's what she's also made very clear.
Lama Hassan joining us from outside Buckingham Palace. And Lama, we know there's been a lot of speculation about the princess's health, but what more are you learning about any future appearances?
It was uplifting for the public to see the princess and the king on that balcony behind me in a hugely significant moment for the family after a period of such uncertainty. But the palace has been very clear that this is not a return to normal duties for the princess, and we don't know when we will see her again. They have not announced any future engagements for her. And as Princess Catherine said herself, she is not out of the woods yet.
Still some encouraging signs today. Lama, thank you. Now to that terrifying scene at an amusement park in Portland, Oregon. Nearly 30 people trapped, suspended upside down in the air for nearly 30 minutes after a ride malfunctioned. How rescuers got them down and what the riders are saying tonight. Here's ABC's Zoreen Shah.
Tonight, the dramatic video showing the race to rescue 28 riders hanging upside down 100 feet in the air at a Portland amusement park.
I was terrified.
I didn't think I was going to live to see right now.
Tense moments on Friday afternoon as emergency responders worked to free terrified parkgoers trapped aboard the malfunctioning Atmosphere ride at Oaks Park, one of the oldest amusement parks in the country. Riders stuck for nearly 30 minutes before firefighters and park staff were able to manually override the system and safely return them to the ground.
I was just so overwhelmed and everything. I gave her the biggest hug.
Authorities said one person with a pre-existing medical condition was taken to the hospital as a precaution, but otherwise reported no injuries.
Just last year, our crews were down here with our Higher Angle group and trained and drilled specifically on this ride. So they were very well versed with a pre-plan of what actions to take.
The ride has been in operation since 2021, and park inspection records show no previous safety problems. The most recent inspection just 3 months ago. Tonight, relief for those who fear the outcome might be much different.
It's a really heartfelt moment, in a weird way. It's really pure almost, because everyone's confessing what they want to say for their last words.
Just so terrifying. And the park says that ride has been shut down until further notice, and they are working with the manufacturers and state inspectors to try to figure out what happened that caused that ride to stop. Whit.
All right, frightening experience for sure. Zareen, thank you. Overseas now, and one of the deadliest days for Israeli forces since the war began. Israel saying 8 soldiers were killed in southern Gaza. Let's get right to ABC's Tom Sufi Burridge in Tel Aviv. And Tom, what is Israel saying about this attack?
Yeah, we're on one of the deadliest days of the war for Israel. Prime Minister Netanyahu calling the cost heavy, but vowing to fight on. The IDF saying 8 of its soldiers were killed when Hamas hit an armoured vehicle in Rafah in southern Gaza, with the Gaza Health Ministry now saying 37,000 Palestinians have died in the war. It comes as Israeli police released new video of the moment Israeli commandos rescued Noah Agamani last weekend, the 26-year-old taken by Hamas from the Nova Music Festival on October 7th. And Whit, we've just got back from what organisers are calling the biggest protest in Tel Aviv since the war in Gaza began. Tens of thousands rallying for the hostages and against the Israeli government. Lee Siegel, brother of American hostage Keith Siegel, telling us the war is only bringing death and destruction, demanding Netanyahu bring Keith and the other remaining 120 hostages home. Whit.
Tom Sufi Burridge with those new details tonight. Thank you. Now to the Peace Summit for Ukraine in Switzerland. Vice President Kamala Harris among the dozens of world leaders attending the conference, meeting one-on-one with Ukrainian President Zelensky and announcing another $1.5 billion in funding to Ukraine. Ukraine looking to shore up international support before presenting a proposal to Russia. Next tonight, the urgent manhunt for an alleged suspect in New York City after police say a 13-year-old girl was sexually assaulted at a park. The chilling details coming in tonight. Here's ABC's Ika Jachi.
Tonight, the NYPD scouring the city for the man suspected of sexually assaulting a 13-year-old girl in what police call a parent's worst nightmare.
We will leave no stone unturned until we bring this monster into justice.
Investigators say the girl and her 13-year-old classmate were playing soccer in Queens' Casino Park shortly after school let out, when a man approached the pair demanding they follow him into the woods. Detectives say the suspect pulled out a large machete-style knife when they refused.
He tied the boy and girl's wrists together with a shoelace. The perpetrator then sexually assaulted the 13-year-old girl.
The suspect telling the victims to wait for 20 minutes, then running away with their cell phones, according to police. The teens returning to school to report the alleged attack and were taken to the hospital in stable condition. Police described the suspect as a man in his 20s, about 5'5", with short curly hair, braces on his teeth, and a heavy accent. Authorities saying he has a distinctive large tattoo of a boar or bull with red eyes on his chest. The shoelace and water bottle found at the crime scene now undergoing forensic testing.
As a girl, I feel so unsafe going anywhere.
This is a massive manhunt currently underway. A swarming number of police officers and 2 drone teams right behind me, not only on the perimeter, but inside this big 240-acre park. Now, the NYPD asking the public for help, offering a $10,000 reward for any information leading to the arrest of the suspect. Whit.
Ika Jachi for us. Thank you. Now to the race for the White House. Tonight, former President Donald Trump courting voters in the critical battleground state of Michigan. The possible vice presidential candidates auditioning for the job tonight. And President Joe Biden holding a star-studded fundraiser in Los Angeles. More now from ABC's Mary Alice Parks on the campaign trail.
Tonight, former President Donald Trump campaigning in the crucial battleground state of Michigan with a direct appeal to black voters in the heart of Detroit, a Democratic stronghold.
We've done more for, and I say this, I say it proudly, more for the black population than any president since Abraham Lincoln.
2 leading black conservatives, Dr. Ben Carson and Florida Congressman Byron Donalds, both in attendance and on the short list of Trump's potential running mates.
You know, Byron Donalds is an incredible guy. Incredible guy. And I noticed he happens to be on the list of potential vice presidents. Would anybody like to see him as a vice president?
In 2020, President Joe Biden beat Trump in Michigan by over 150,000 votes, winning huge margins in cities like Detroit, backed strongly by voters of color. Across the country, over 90% of black voters choosing Biden in the last election. Now, the Trump campaign very aware any shift in those numbers could decide this year's race. 538's polling average showing Trump and Biden nearly tied in Michigan as of this month, with Trump enjoying the slightest edge. And later tonight, Trump is scheduled to speak at a convention across town, hosted by far-right activist Charlie Kirk.
Under my leadership, we created 500,000 manufacturing jobs in 3 short years. Remember, Biden and Obama would go around saying, we can't manufacture here anymore. That's because we had stupid people leading our country.
And the Biden team put out a statement today blasting Trump for what they called a lifetime of disrespecting black voters and for entering politics by spreading, quote, racist conspiracy theories about Barack Obama. Now, President Biden will actually be with Obama tonight at a fundraiser in California. This is a star-studded event with a lot of Hollywood A-listers.
Mary Alice Parks on the campaign trail for us. Thanks so much. And tune into This Week tomorrow morning. Jonathan Karl has exclusive interviews with Senator Tim Scott and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. And there is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Saturday. Major League Baseball benches a man considered one of its best umpires accused of gambling. And the big announcement from NBA great turned broadcaster Charles Barkley, what's not ahead in his future. Next tonight, Major League Baseball announcing that it's disciplined an umpire for allegedly violating the league's gambling rules. Pat Hoberg is appealing the decision, and according to ESPN sources, he's denied betting on baseball. Hoberg is widely considered the best ball strike umpire in the league, but he has not been on the field this season. When we come back, the big announcement from NBA great Charles Barkley. To the index now, the summer travel season is kicking into high gear. On Friday, the TSA screening nearly 3 million passengers on its second busiest travel day ever. The agency telling everyone to arrive at airports early. The TSA expects to hit the 3 million mark for a single day at some point this summer. With less than 2 months to go until the Paris Olympics, there are renewed health concerns tonight about the Seine River. According to a monitoring group, recent tests of the river found unsafe elevated levels of E. coli. The report coming one day after the IOC said the river was safe. The final decision on safety rests with the governing bodies of individual events. NBA great Charles Barkley says he's retiring again, this time from television. Barkley saying the 2024 to 2025 season will be his last. He's been on the air for more than 2 decades. Barkley played 16 years in the NBA and is considered one of the greatest power forwards in league history. When we come back, the amazing foster mom and the difference she's made in so many lives. Finally tonight, America Strong, the amazing foster mom changing lives for decades.
For 88-year-old Emma Patterson, putting family first is a lifestyle, raising 4 children and 10 grandchildren. But over the decades, she's also opened her heart and her home in Montgomery County, Maryland, to nearly 40 foster children.
My birth children started bringing children home that the parents had more or less discarded. Some of the kids maybe didn't have coats or needed shoes. Some were just hungry. And my children would bring them home, and I would do the best I could.
Fostering as many as 9 kids at a time, some starting at birth.
They were born drug-addicted babies, and that they couldn't let them go home with their parents. They stayed with me all their lives.
And doing all of this as a single mom.
The majority of the children were able to stay with me until they became adults and were able to go out in the world and start their own businesses and go to college and just have a good life, just be a good, decent human being that somebody wants them in our society.
Her generous spirit heavily influenced by her own grandmothers.
I saw both of my grandmothers always being generous, always helping somebody. That's what you're supposed to do.
After celebrating her last foster child's high school graduation, Emma is now retiring, recently honored by Montgomery County for her years of service to the children, offering support and love where it was needed most.
I cannot say that I have any regrets. This was something I just felt that I wanted to do, and I enjoyed doing every day. I felt good. It made me feel happy.
What an impact. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir America's most watched newscast.